This is the next round in the losers bracket. It's going to be between Zlo and Blastchild. As I mentioned in the last game, Blastchild got incredibly unlucky when he got knocked on his tail. He has a chance to redeem himself here. Of course, Aeon mirror matchup. Blastchild on the left, Zlo on the right, and the map is Loki. Blastchild going for first land factory. Nice little group of power generators. What on earth? My computer is acting so weird nowadays. Okay, so we've got first land, a conglomeration of power generators totaling to 6, air factory, power generator, and third land. Then on the north side, we've got Zlo. He is going first land, 3 power generators, and then another land factory, 4 P-gens, and an air factory third. So he's going for a little bit stronger of a land presence. Of course, do bear in mind that we are with Aeon. Or we are playing with Aeon. So access is not going to be limited around the outside edges of the map. Typically, this would be a weird play center where you have to kind of string around this way. You can get across with your ACU or with engineers in the back, but your tanks are going to not have an access point, so you got to kind of proxy from this group of 3 mexes up here. It ends up playing out a bit differently, but since everyone is Aeon, the entire map is accessible, so that is not going to be the case. Now, the attack move order down here is very important. Let's talk about the build just a minute. The map is Loki, of course, and you can see, let me do the heat map for reclaim. Each of these 12 mass clumps is an intact clump of trees, and then there are boulders hither and yon scattered about the map. One there, for example, worth 138 mass, plus a couple of civilian buildings. I'm not sure exactly how much those are worth. And then there is some reclaim across the front here. Clumps of rocks are worth a fair amount, along with a couple of civilian vehicles and buildings. And then this is very important as well. You will see manual reclaims. Let's see if Blastchild has done it. Yes, he has a manual reclaim strip with an engineer right here that then goes to build the 3 mass extractors over on that side. There's a couple hundred mass here to pick up that can greatly boost your early game potential. So couple that with these tree clumps. These will allow you to get a very early air factory online with fewer power generators than you would typically need. Of course, 12 power, 120 mass, I guess, per tree clump, because these are higher value than typical tree clumps. I'm not 100% sure on that statement, but usually they only register for 10, and these are registering for 12. You don't want to trample the clumps with a tank, because then they take longer to reclaim, so the tank is going to go over there to guard the engineers, but it's not actually going to run across to the other edge. Zlo's dropping his air factory under assistance from an engineer. Of course, the power coming in from that reclaim is floating him up quite nicely indeed. No danger of stalling there. And he's now pushing tanks over to the left-hand side of the map. Blastchild down here. There is a spirit over on this edge that is, oh, you nasty son of a gun. He's breaking the tree clumps, so Blastchild cannot effectively reclaim to boost his air production. You'll notice that Blastchild is stalling for 10 power. He'll have to get another P-gen online in order to sustain what he is doing, although the rest of his economy appears to be relatively well balanced. He does have 2 land factories online, the same as Zlo, but they came out in a slightly different order. So Zlo, since he had more up at the beginning, is going to have a couple more tanks that he can push out to claim map control. All of this in the middle, I would encourage you not to forget that it exists, because there is some map here, but these buildings are practically worthless. I think it's like 5 to 20 mass per building or something stupidly small like that. However, there are civilian vehicles mixed in. Those are worth reclaiming. So, yeah, you need to get those in hand. Man, that is such an annoying thing to see. I can feel Blastchild's pain at my very core over losing all of that reclaim. And look at this bastard. He is doing the same thing on the other side. Look at this move order. He's trampling every single clump of trees that he possibly can to break up Blastchild's chances at getting that reclaimed. Really irritating thing to be doing. I am glad that Aurora picked up the kill there, because that is a small bit of a jerk move. Actually, not a small bit of. That is a tremendous, well, do it. All is fair in love and war, and it gets particularly dirty in war. But that is an underhanded thing to do. All right, 3 engineers on this side, gradually moving the attack move order down the edge. You'll notice that he's actually reclaiming clumps of trees that are on the top side of the cliff, as well as reclaiming all of the stuff on the bottom side. So Zlo should be well ahead in reclaim at this point. 1100 is on the ticker there versus 764. And Blast Shield is in a bad spot with Power Stall right now, because typically players heavily rely on that early reclaim in order to float their power grid. It is part of the standard build order on Loki. You should definitely be using it yourselves. But I guess that's a nasty thing you're going to take advantage of when you have a very fast hover scout. Very, very dirty play. Okay, so there's a couple more civilian trucks up here. I did mention before that there's rock clumps, over on this edge. Blast Shield is now biting into that, and he's getting another land factory up over on this edge. So well done there. Then we've got a second air factory online, 3 more land factories in the base for a total of 4. It does look like he's planning a proxy on the outside edge, and then the ACU is moving all the way up to the north. There is an engineer over here from Zlo. He does have a point defense placed on the rock. That is going to build all of the mass extractors, then reclaim the rock before building the point defense, so that should work out just fine. Put a little extra mass in the coffers right before you expend it on a point defense. Zlo has moved his ACU slightly towards the south, but he has paused to build an to build another land factory, but his ACU is now continuing its journey. It's going to be on a patrol order, reclaiming trees there, and he has apparently resigned the south side to Blast Shield, at least for the time being. There is a flare over on this edge that might be able to pick off an engineer right over there. I'm not sure why that's not happening. But Zlo does have a couple of air scouts on the south that might pick up that flare momentarily. Sorry for the couple of mic flips there, guys. I am getting a couple of drinks because I don't want my voice to leave me completely. That single Aurora I do not think is going to be enough to deny the 5 or so that are headed for it. However, Blast Shield does have a few more units coming up in the back, and like I said, he is moving his ACU into the territory. This in the middle here, it's an interesting construct because basically it screws up your pathfinding. The walls go all the way around these edges. They are indestructible as far as I know, but there is a pathway through the center. So you can fit 2 units at a time of the T1 variety through that wall section. It's not going to completely bungle your pathfinding, but it does make unit passage a lot slower. So you typically end up seeing fights moving around the wall rather than through the wall, but you still want to build some kind of radar or scout across here occasionally to make sure that that the armies are not crossing the pass when you're not looking that way. I have gotten raided from that direction, and it's not a pleasant experience. Let's just leave it at that. Brink, you can reclaim the walls, it's just annoying and takes a while. Okay, Brink was wrong. But then again, what is new? I really thought that the calcicrete wall sections were indestructible, but apparently they are not. They've got 1 of 1 HP, and I don't think you can destroy them with tanks. But I've never tried reclaiming them before. Interesting. They must just have like an invulnerable or they must either not be targetable or have an invulnerable army type, and then just a ridiculously long build time would be the way that you set that up. All right, Aurora's getting knocked out. Blast Shield taking the victory right there, and also killing the T1 bomber that was flying over. Exceptionally well done there, and he does have enough tanks over on this edge in order to take this gap back. The point defense unfortunately did not get built. The engineer died before it was able to get that online, so that section is not defended. Zlo is still content to reclaim single trees at a time with his ACU instead of either putting it into combat or getting upgrades, so that's a bit of an odd thing. But it looks like his ACU is now queued to go towards the north, directly towards the other ACU. We'll have to see what's going on with that kind of thing. I do see a T2 air factory building gunships. That has also given rise to T2 engineers that can drop a T2 power generator over that way to take care of energy needs at least for a little while. I thought those were impervious, says Triex. Darabus, I'm fairly sure I've reclaimed it before, but after that I realized that the time it takes wasn't worth the advantage it gives you. Yeah, I do not have an answer for this. If somebody in chat is willing to dive into a test game and attempt to reclaim one of those walls and see what happens, I would love to have accurate information to give to all of the peoples. Unfortunately, I cannot do that and this at the same time. Gunship, an excellent choice right now because we do have Auroras raiding across the water. That would have been a rather annoying hit to the backside of the base had that gunship not been there. But of course, Zlo has very little air to defend himself with at this point in the game due to that air fight that we saw just a minute ago. So he's going to have to kind of sit and produce swift wins, at least for the next few minutes. That gunship will be able to kill off most of the Auroras before the interceptors swing in to target it down, though. So there goes gunship. 3 Auroras alive. There are a couple of Auroras in the base, and I think that is going to be sufficient to stop the invasion. This invasion, though, is an entirely different story. There's only 6 tanks defending, while there are about 10 tanks, actually 9 exactly, on the other side. However, if Zlo was able to get up a firing squad situation, he may be able to come out victorious versus the stream of units, but that is not exactly the case. Oh my goodness, he actually did it. Holy smokes. 3 less tanks and he came out ahead. That is what a little bit of micro can do for you folks if you're willing to give it a try. T1 bombers are out, got 3 swift wins at his disposal, so still behind on air, but he may need those bombers for something else in just a minute. They may have been a reflex against the Auroras that were moving in across the water. Blast Shield at 53 mass per tick is low at 75, but I do believe that is reclaim, at least in part. 55 is where it's at. That means they're basically the same. 6,000 reclaim versus 5,500 reclaim. Again, basically the same. And 1.1 versus 1.3k power. They've also got just shy of even map control. Blast has a very slight advantage indeed. He was able to kill off the 3 mass extractor expansion in the south. However, his own expansion is only T1 mexes, one of which is damaged, and he doesn't have very many tanks up there. So I don't think that that's a huge disadvantage for Zlo to lose that, and he's also at exactly the same mass income still. So truth has been spoken. 4 T2 mass extractors. Where's the 4th? 1, 2, 3. Are there only 3 mass extractors here? I think there may only be 3. Hold on. I can't click unless I'm in. There are 4. I just didn't see the other one. Okay, so 4 T2 mass extractors, I think, on each side. Good dealio. So still running about neck and neck with that. You'll notice that Blast Shield is reclaiming his T1 power, converting it into T2. The T2 is more mass efficient. You get more power for how much you put in. So as you build your power generators, you should be able to reclaim the T1s and invest that mass into more T2s or whatever else you please. That's going to be a total of 4 land factories, staging facility. I think that might be one of the first times I've ever seen an air staging facility come online in a 1 versus 1 matchup. That's actually kind of a brilliant thing to see. So we got 4 land factories on the south side, 3 land factories on the north side with no auxiliaries, and that is going to be a problem because we do have quite a significant number of T1 tanks on the south edge, accompanied by a group of T1 artillery, or at least a single T1 artillery, a pair of T1 artillery that will be able to eliminate those T1 point defense. So that could lead to the downfall of this entire expansion should that T2 gunship not kill off the artillery. That would be the good thing to target down, because if the arty dies, the tanks will not be able to push the base. Zlo is starting a CU shield. That means that there could be either a potential for a combat comm, or it could lead to a commander drop. I have seen Zlo do a commander drop on this base once before, or on this map once before. Furious production in place on air for Blast Shield. Let's take a little bit of a look at the map here. We've got 15 tanks, 1 gunship, 14 swift winds versus 42 tanks, 19 interceptors, 3 swift winds. That is going to give the air advantage to Zlo now, which would explain Blast Chill's heavy-handed production. And I now see a little bit of a problem because Zlo has got a tack launcher online, and he's now tacked a mass extractor on Blast Chill's side of the map. We have another launch out. There's no T2 engineers in sight that can deal with that son of a gun. And this is actually something that I mildly disagree with here. I think that... Nope, I'm wrong. Never mind. Ignore what I was going to say. I was going to say I would go for the closer targets first, but Blast Chilled had the presence of mind to drop a TMD right in the middle of that base that kind of hampers the hits on anything in the surrounding area. So tac missiles are going to hit those 3 T2 mass extractors. Rowie says, I can confirm that you can reclaim the walls in mid. I tried with hives. You can't reclaim. I tried with hives and they will only assist. So the walls in the center of this map are completely impervious to anything that you can throw at them. Gunships eliminating the mass extractors and the point defense in the middle. Once again, that expansion is going to fall. Those Blast Chilled maybe getting ready to protect it with the swift winds and empties. Thank you, Rowie and Darabus, for testing. We have another confirmation from Dedibus. Okay, so back to that tac launcher. I do believe that the T2 Air HQ is outside the influence of the TMD, so a rapid fire double tac would be sufficient to kill that HQ and knock Blast Chill back a fair little bit. It would appear that that tac launcher is still up and loaded with 2 missiles. That would be an excellent target for Zlo to go after. But right now, Zlo is only concerned with using his T2 gun commander to mow this base down and take over this territory. He is shedding a lot of HP off of his shield. Of course, you do remember that the T2 upgrade takes the place of the range upgrade on the ACU, so you can get the rapid fire gun, but you cannot get both the gun and the range upgrade. I was about to say that that was an excellent turn for Zlo because he picked off a few free kills, but those free kills were only interceptors, and now Blast Shield is in heavy control of air once again, so that is going to put an end to the reign of Zlo's gunships. Blast Shield getting the range upgrade on his commander. That is going to give him an opportunity to overcharge T2 point defense as he pleases. One is going down there, an artillery, or I'm sorry, a flak artillery, but it is a flak. So a point defensive flak and a shield up on that edge, a fairly effective little fire base from which Zlo can control and manipulate the northern edge of the map. T2 gunship just kind of taking a hiatus on the ground. I don't know why you're not doing anything, but he is going to move over, kill off the T1 mass extractor, apparently unnoticed by all of these air units, and then he's going to be free to fly wherever he very well pleased. I said that losing air control was going to put an end to the reign of the gunships, but I would appear to be mistaken. A pleasant surprise. Well, or a curse, depending on which side you're on. Alright, T2 mass extractor going down for Zlo. He did build 2 T1s. Maybe the T2 was intentional. That's one of the things that I run into some of the time, where you think that you're queuing one thing, but you're actually queuing the other, and you end up mass stalling horrifically because the build cost is so high on a T2 mass extractor, and then you wonder where all of your economy went and realize that you have 3/4 of a T2 mechs, while your opponent built approximately 48 tanks. I know that's an exaggeration, but that's what it seems like, and then rolls over your face. So yeah, one of those things to watch out for, that you're building the proper thing that you intend to when you build mass extractor with your upgraded ACU. T2 Air Factory pumping out swift winds, as is that one. Gunships coming from the northern air factory. And then I love seeing the flak out and about, because it's just one of those things that rubs salt in the wound just a little bit more. Yeah, I know I already won air, but I'm going to maintain control of it by whatever means necessary, even if that means walking a single solitary unprotected flak under your air in order to devastate it even further and lose less of my own air units fighting it. That is a good looking death ball right there. Lots of swift winds and interceptors packed into that little blob. We've got 6 gunships, 8 gunships online. Blast Shield moving around towards the south side. I don't know exactly what he's going to be going after with those, but he is getting ready to use them for something. Looks like T2 Air Factory heavily assisted up there, and that, my friends, is going to be the T3 HQ that we have wanted for so long. Harbingers are going to hit the field at 20 minutes into this game. I was wondering when it was going to happen. Usually Aeon gets to T3 a whole hell of a lot sooner than that, but we are finally there. How close are we on the south side? That is a T3 upgrade as well. Finishing at just about the same time. Actually, Blast Shield is going to be slightly ahead. Blast Shield was power stalling a little bit, but his mass is not doing particularly well. It looks like he's on about 51 income, although his number is fluctuating wildly for some reason, and that reason is not even reclaim. He's got 16,800 reclaim, call it 17. Speaking of, 22,000 reclaim on 105 income for Zlo. So Zlo turning into the economic powerhouse for once, even though he is usually the person spamming T1 for as long as possible and not upgrading any mass extractors unless he absolutely has to. But in return for that, he is going to lose some of his expansions. So 2 T2 mass extractors and 5 T1s going to go down to that massive gunships that is now moving towards the south edge of Zlo's base. We've got a nice little turn here. Swift winds coming in, interceptors stalling in the back, and now they're all moving. That was actually a really nice move there from Zlo, who had his air units on 2 different move orders, one on stop and one microed, but in the end, Blast Shield just had too damn many inties. I think that was a valiant effort. Zlo definitely punched out more air units than he otherwise could have, but in the end, it did not even matter. Gunships are now in the base. This is bad news indeed. If he can get a mobile flak out, though, and there it is. It'll rescue the base. Harvey drop incoming, though. This is going to cause even more problems. Blast Shield has got 2 in the base. There's only 1 to defend, although another one is building in the back end. Harvey's ignoring the damage that's incoming and instead going after the T2 power generators as quickly as possible. Gonna drop 3, might drop 4, both still alive. One goes down, and the other with 3/4 damage on the P-Gen. That's gonna drop Zlo down to 1.1k power, putting him in a hard stall. He's pausing the shields on his Harbingers and halting production on as many things as he possibly can in order to get his stuff put back together. Zlo was looking very strong indeed, but Blast Shield just evened up the odds, bringing himself back into this game by sheer force of Harbingers. On the south side, we got a pretty good little defense going on here. Zlo going to maintain control of those mass extractors, though he will lose 1. And then we've got artillery moving into the plateau from the other edge as well. So Blast Shield is trying to press his advantage in the south while he knows that he's won in the north. He knows that Zlo is going to have to rebuild all of this stuff as quickly as possible. There's nothing else that he can do, so he's going to take advantage of the time that he has. Tech 2 power generator building. That's going to put Zlo probably in a power stall again. Nope. He is actually doing quite well, but now he'll be able to restart his production on all of the things that he needs to get online. 800 positive when he's at a reasonable amount of mass expenditure. Even 133 negative, he's still fine. So that means he can cut his air production back on momentarily. Harbingers moving in, of course, more than a match for the point defense that are online. You got to have a buttload of T2 point defense to stop an army of Harbingers, though I guess 3 is very loose definition of an army. On the north, Blast Chill still sitting on double gun upgrade, but no other upgrades as mobile missile launchers pick off his T1 units on that edge. One Harbinger did fall, so the point defense is of some use, I do suppose, but the other 2 are going to wipe out the rest of that expansion as engineers in the rear furiously build T1 PD templates, trying to get something, anything online that will stop the flow of units from the left. T2 Mass Extractor up on the north, probably something you want to keep safe, and it looks like Zlow's got knocked down a peg to 86 mass per tick, losing about 20 mass off of his income total. Meanwhile, Blast Shield is still chilling back at 55 income with a fair bit less power. Looks like we've got 20,000 reclaim on the ticker for Blast Shield and 36,000 for Zlow. Zlow definitely should be winning this a little bit harder than he is, just looking at the numbers. However, Blast Shield is making a valiant effort through drops, through expert rating snipages, through a variety of machinations that perhaps only he would come up with. But he is managing to tie up with Zlow as far as map control goes and as far as T3 unit count goes. So I think he's in a relatively decent place, at least. Another drop carrying units across. You'll notice that the flak actually shot the unit off the bottom of the transport. This is one of those horrible, horrible things that happens when you fly across flak, and that is another TML. There was no TMD built. Why? He's going to lose 3 more T2 Mass Extractors from his expansions. That is going to hurt quite badly indeed. A shame to see. But alas, it is meant to be. Blast Shield at 43 mass per tick after that last TAC missile impact versus 88 for Zlow. Literally half the income, although Blast Shield does have access to overcharge and a ranged gun comm. So he will be able to defend himself, at least in this little choke point, and Zlow is going to have to find... Zlow is going to have to find something else to do to crack this foothold on the northern edge of the map. 2 Harbingers moving towards Blast Shield's base. Not exactly the greatest news that you'll hear on any given day. They're going to kill off a couple of T1 units in the area and probably snipe off the other T1 Mass Extractor as well. Still seeing a lot of T2 power in Blast Shield's base. No T3 power planned as of yet, although with the power income that he has, 2.7k, he is probably fine. Zlow still doesn't have any shielding on his power generators, which is kind of a shame, but he is a little bit better off than Blast Shield at the moment, though still I think a ways off from any attempt at T3 air. He's not even capped as T2 Mass Extractors. What madness is this of which you partake? 4 Harbingers versus 3, but the 3 are spread out, and one of them is without a shield. Then on the north side, we do have another Harbinger over there, but it is a little too far away. Not going to be able to help in the immediate future. So many swift wins. Let's go ahead and get another unit count online. That is going to be a T3 HQ, not HQ, support factory on the outside edge. So Harbingers will be streaming out on that side. I think we're seeing the slow increase of Zlow. The income is finally starting to wear on Blast Shield. All right, we've got 18 flak, 14 Harbingers, and 17 swift winds versus 7 Harbingers, so half the Harbingers, 40 freaking 3 swift winds, air control are belong to us, and 5 flak. 21,000 reclaim versus 43,000 reclaim. So double the reclaim, double the income. Zlow is rocking it up. I think we just need to wait a small matter of a few minutes, and Zlo will win this thing, barring some stupidity involving a snipe or a commander drop. You can see here, factory is being control K'd and reclaimed in order to fuel the war effort. Over on the right-hand side, Harbingers have retreated to the outside edge to try and stay away from oncoming units, stay alive as long as possible. Blast Shield has moved his ACU up in order to bring it into a combat role, because otherwise he is not going to be able to contest the amount of T3 that Zlo has. Overcharges at this point are incredibly valuable. We do have a T2 transport up, but it does not appear to be picking anything up. We'll have to wait a few minutes and see what that is all about. Then in the main base, we do have more eco upgrades planned, capping off the rest of these mass extractors. And Harvey production all the way, I do suppose. Okay, when you guys gonna break your little bit of a defensive stalemate here, and one of you is going to kill the other. Got a couple of T1 bombers out to the north. Not going to be especially useful, although if you get 3 or 4 bombers, you'll be able to kill a TMD in one pass, even if there's anti-air involved. I think 2 bombers kill 500 HP in one pass. Maybe not. The Aeon bombers do less damage, so it might be 3 to 4. Whatever the case may be, if you stockpile some T1 bombers, you can snipe the TAC missile defense, and then you are free to launch missiles into your opponent's base and wreak all kinds of havoc. ACU drop over on 6 Harbingers. That's going to be 1 down, 2 down. Blast Shield shedding HP as he overcharged to 3rd, and boom goes the dynamite. That is the end of Blast Shield. Zlo taking the win in a very, very long and grindy game. Zlo played that expertly. Maybe a little slowly, but he did a lot better than he did in the previous match that we watched. He took map control, he upgraded his things, he did all of the stuffs correctly, and for the most part, he held control of the majority of the map. The only setback being the brave Harbinger drop from Blast Shield into his base that killed off the majority of his power, and that of course did delay the inevitable. But Zlo did hold a strong upper hand that entire game. Well played to both of these guys. Blast Shield, unfortunately, getting knocked completely out of the tournament, and Zlo is going to go on to the loser bracket finals, after which we will jump into the finals of the King of Aeon tournament. That is going to wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.